welcome to Overdrive. You're watching the show with me, so we need that. Now, Audi has taken a very long time to bring the A6 down to India, and it comes at a very interesting time when they made the announcement, the forward-thinking announcement, that they will be bringing in only the petrol, hybrid and electric powertrains. Now, the first product to be in line with this announcement has been the A6 TFSI, and we got behind the wheel of this car just to find out how it fits in well in the current scheme of things in the business premium sedan space.
This is the new Audi A6 and finally it's here in India. The first time I drove this car was in 2018, closer to Audi's home in Germany, and the car left me quite impressed. But between then and now, quite a lot of time has passed. But let's get past all that delay and see what the new A6 is all about. More importantly, let's find out how much of that goodness that impressed me about the A6 in Germany has made its way to India. Let's begin with the design. As I mentioned in my previous review of the A6, it is the regular wheelbase of the A6 that makes its way into India. So the car that you see here is 7mm longer, 12mm wider and 2mm taller than the outgoing car, which means it still maintains that long business limousine stance that we've come to like about the A6 model lineup. The complexity of the lighting elements and the tastefully done chrome adds further oomph to the premium poise of the A6. It looks more in tune with the times despite its evolutionary design. Now this color may not be the best to show off its creases in, but the lines, the surfacing, all of that is now sharper and tighter than before, and that imparts it a sophisticated stance. I believe that the grey, the white, the black or even the gunmetal shades are the ones that look best on the new A6. They also bring out the chrome accenting very nicely. The grille, I think that's always been one of the controversial points for cars from this segment, but Audi proves it that you can make a large grille look good. So competition, take note. The same sophistication carries over inside the cabin too, which is also roomier than before and finally boasts of an all-new design. Compared to the car that I drove in Germany, which had dark interiors, this one looks much better. What I also like is the design of the dashboard. Now it is a driver-centric center console. However, this entire section doesn't feel like it's a part of the driver's side. Because of the bezel, because of the way this has been laid out, because of the way this has been designed, it feels like it's part of the passenger side. What I also like is the infotainment. It's a nice, crisp infotainment. This has Apple CarPlay as well. I also like the kind of layout that they have at the bottom. This is what you see with all premium Audis. This is the first Audi that will introduce you to this dual screen layout, and then you will have it in the A8, the Q7, so on and so forth. The infotainment is complemented by the intuitive and easy to read digital instrumentation and a brilliant Bang & Olufsen audio system. The tunnel console has a wireless charging pad, but sadly the system on our test car didn't support wireless Apple CarPlay. The cabin is cooled very efficiently by a 4-zone climate control, and the rear seat occupants also get window and windshield blinds. Rear seat space was always the forte of the A6, and it doesn't change with the new A6 either. It still remains one of its strongest points. Knee room, excellent. Headroom, brilliant. Foot space, quite good. Even the under-thigh support is quite nice. Strictly for two adults though, this rear seat cannot take a third person. There is a huge tunnel console. You also get a protrusion in the rear seat. The contouring, quite nice. However, the seat back is a little bit upright. But this is not the roomiest car in the segment in that sense. But this is not something that you would complain about quite often. I quite like it. The engine that does duty in the India spec A6 is a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine. That's the only powertrain on offer right now. There is no diesel, there is no electrification, no hybridization of any sort. Why I'm highlighting that? Well, because when I drove the A6 for the first time, I had mentioned that every engine in the A6 will receive a certain degree of electrification or hybridization. This one, however, doesn't get any of that. This is more conventional in that sense. But truth be told, it doesn't really feel like this engine needs any sort of that assistance. Despite the turbocharging, there is no turbo lag to complain about, and thanks to the turbocharging and a slick, responsive 7-speed gearbox, there's always power and torque available on tap, no matter what kind of a scenario you're driving in. Around the twisties, on the highway, in the city, there's always enough grunt in this engine. If your commute distances are going to be longer, your yearly travel is going to be quite a bit, then diesel could make more sense, and as of now, you do not get that with the A6. In our test, the A6 managed a not 200 km/h sprint in a quick 6.9 seconds. And the fuel economy was pretty decent for this size, spec and performance. It also now has a better handling package that nicely masks the length of the car compared to the outgoing A6. Now, Audi has been a big supporter of the air suspension technology, especially on the previous generation A6. It was one of its biggest talking points, its USP in that sense. But on the new A6, you don't get air suspension by default, and that I think is a good thing. You see, this segment of cars usually has longer ownership intervals as compared to the lesser siblings, the lesser variants or the lesser counterparts. And from that perspective, I think not having air suspension is better peace of mind during that long ownership interval. I do miss the adaptive suspension, however, is on the highway. At those speeds, if you were to hit undulations, the A6 tends to float a bit. Now, it's not unnerving, it doesn't feel unstable at highway speeds at all, it feels nice and planted, but that floaty feel after hitting undulations is what could lead to motion sickness, especially for rear seat occupants and especially if they are sensitive towards motion sickness in that sense. Over sharper bumps, over a series of potholes, it soaks all of it in quite well, but there is a bit of a stringy feeling that you get right towards the end of it. It feels a little bit bouncy, it feels like the rebound is a little too pronounced. This car doesn't have that typically firm feeling that you get with German luxury cars. This one feels more pliant, a bit softer, and it's a nice feeling to have. If you're the kind who often swaps the rear seat comfort for driving fun, you would be better off choosing the new BMW 5 Series. The A6 is still more luxury focused, despite all the kit that it offers for the driver's seat. So the A6, it is quite refined, it has a lot of technology to boast of, it has the finesse that is synonymous with an Audi business sedan, and then it also has plenty to keep the driver and the driven entertained, and all of this works in the favor of the A6. But
be sure to head to the Overdrive website. Rohit will get you all the lowdown on how this A6 fares against one of the other German rivals. Time then for us to take our first break here on the show. Come right back.